I'm a living example that it is possible. Obviously, my story is not, all of our stories look different, but I will say I've talked to a lot of other people who also have the same experience. But I wanted to make this video because there's one key thing I think a lot of people are missing. One of my posts went viral that I made when I was in Thailand about how I cured my, I don't know if it was my depression diagnosis or if it was my bipolar diagnosis. It was something about like how I cured myself of depression or bipolar through meditation. And that post I made uh, like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And that post is still like every month one of my most top watched posts on YouTube. And I got a lot of like mixed reactions from that post. I really didn't realize what I was doing whenever I made the post. I just was being honest about my experience and how I feel like that meditation has been one of the sole reasons why I've been able to overcome depression and anxiety and this apparent bipolar diagnosis that I had been um, given by 3 different doctors, maybe even 4. um, but I didn't really know what I was doing when I made the post. I just was being honest and truthful about my personal experience. And apparently, I would say maybe 25% of people agreed and were like commenting, saying that they had very similar experiences. And then I would say the rest, like 75% of people, were commenting about how I must have been misdiagnosed or I must have like pretty much not know what I was talking about. Like there's absolutely no way that you could cure yourself from uh, depression or anxiety or even like being diagnosed bipolar. Like there was no way that you could cure yourself through meditation. And I wanted to make a video about it because I can say and will say that I cured myself. And maybe my little like short reel that I made was not, it was a short reel. Like I didn't think much of it. So I didn't go into huge detail, but I wanted to go into detail in this video about my experience and my mental health. So I think it's really beautiful right now. There's so many people that are tapping into like spirituality or holistic healing or doing like inner work or like shadow work, inner child work is what I meant. But there's a lot. Like people are kind of waking up that I think maybe 5 or 10 years ago, people were waking up that mental health was like a thing. But now it seems like people are kind of waking up to realize that, hey, you don't have to go to therapy for the rest of your life. You don't have to be on medication for the rest of your life. Like if you're struggling with something internally, like on your emotional or psychological aspect, um, a lot of people are waking up to realize that like it's more than just another industry for people to make money off of and to like say, hey, now you need therapy, now you need medication. Like um, I think people are waking up to know that there's a lot of free and natural ways to help yourself overcome like dark times. And so I want to talk about my experience. So over the years, I've done a lot of different things. I did try like off and on, I've been in like therapy, off and on, I've been on like different medications. And to be honest with you, I had maybe 1 or 2 great therapists between like high school and being early 30s. I had 1 or 2 great therapists. I had um, maybe 1 or 2 not so great therapists. I've been to psychiatrists. I had one great psychiatrist who really was not pro medication, but she believed that sometimes you need to be on medication to like get over a hump. And then once you're over the hump and you're not spiraling out of control, then you could focus on natural things. And I loved her. Like her and I always had the plan that I would be on medication to get me through wherever I was at, and then I would get off of that medication. And that's basically what we did. And she supported me the whole way through that. And so I had been on medication two or three different times in my life, but in this specific time when I was on medication, I was spiraling out of control. Like, I honestly should have checked myself into like a mental health hospital, but I couldn't afford it at the time. So the medication that I was taking, like, I remember it helped me be able to like sleep at night because I was having such bad anxiety. I wasn't sleeping. But it helped me be able to sleep. But on like the flip side, it was making me super drowsy and I was gaining a lot of weight, which made me even more depressed because I felt super unproductive and I didn't like the way that I looked. So it was one of those things that it kind of had pros and cons, but at the end of the day, I ended up deciding that I wanted to just figure out how to get through this, through that chapter naturally, and like being on medication was not worth it. So that kind of started me into more of like that started me into more of like a natural healing path. So a lot of people nowadays are experimenting with like plant medicine, whether it be mushroom ceremonies or ayahuasca or bufo. A lot of people are diving into plant medicine, and I am definitely, I think plant medicine can be useful. I don't think that plant medicine is just a one-stop shop, like go do plant medicine and you will be taken care of, you will be healed, you will never have any more mental problems or problems in your life. Like, I don't believe that, but I do think, again, like same thing with like medication, that sometimes you have to like do that to kind of get over a hump. I believe that plant medicine can be a way that you can kind of open a door to realize some things that maybe you're struggling with internally, or to see life in a different way, so that like moving forward after your plant medicine ceremonies, that you're able to see that like maybe you had been looking at life in the wrong way, or maybe your mindset needed a shift. So after getting off medication, went into I had a plant medicine ceremony. I did ayahuasca, which I posted. I have a video on YouTube about my ayahuasca experience. But then, and also, I should say, during the time when I was preparing for doing my ayahuasca ceremony, I also was really diving into meditation and journaling. And I will say that meditation, journaling, and getting in touch with my body, like through yoga practices and being out in nature, those four things I can truly say have been the biggest shifts in my mental health. And and also the fifth thing, diet. So the point of this video is the fact that like a lot of people think it's impossible to cure yourself or heal yourself or manage or overcome depression, anxiety, any of these like mental health disorders that they just like label people with. A lot of people think it's not possible to overcome these things or manage these things with natural things. And I'm here to tell you that I'm a living example that it is possible. Obviously, my story is not, all of our stories look different, but I will say I've talked to a lot of other people who also have the same experience. But I wanted to make this video because there's one key thing I think a lot of people are missing. When people see a video, I guess like mine, that was triggering, that said meditation helped cure my bipolar diagnosis, that video is triggering for some people because they're like, hey, I've tried meditation, it doesn't work. Or I've tried a whole foods diet or detoxing, it doesn't work. Or I've tried yoga or being out in nature. Like a lot of people, like those things are triggering for them because they feel like they've tried it and it didn't work for them. And I will say a couple of things about this. Like, all of us are different. All of us have different strengths and weaknesses, or all of us have different like journeys about what led us to where we are. So what may work for me, like if I'm somebody who really benefits from plant medicine, or maybe I'm somebody who really benefits from doing breath work or yoga, whatever. There's a lot of different things that all of us can dive into, and that may work for one person or may not work for the next person. But I confidently can say that I think the thing that helped me and also that I know, that I think help other people that I know have been on similar journeys, is that they actually looked at their body as a whole being, and they didn't just say, oh, I'm going to start taking walks in the morning and get in nature, or they're not like, oh, I'm going to detox and now everything's going to be better. Like, our bodies are a whole entire being, holistic healing, like whole body. And I can say that just what transpired in my journey is that I started off, as I mentioned, like going to therapy on medication, knew I didn't want to go that route because didn't seem like it was long term going to be solving anything. And it was causing like additional problems actually. So when I kind of went down my holistic journey, I was slowly incorporating a couple of things that I just mentioned earlier. I was incorporating journaling, I was incorporating meditation, I was incorporating um, plant medicine. Like, I was kind of incorporating a couple of things at a time, and I didn't even realize that I was doing this. But now, looking back, I realized that I feel like I was able to overcome like depression, anxiety. Uh, I don't really believe in labels at this point today in my personal journey. But this bipolar diagnosis, like, I realized that I was able to overcome these things and heal these things, cure these things, whatever you want to say, because I was coming from my body in a lot of different ways. I wasn't just doing the walks in the morning. I wasn't just doing the meditations in the mornings. I was in a whole body, changed probably 5 different things about my life. And they all kind of come together. And that's something that a lot of people I feel like miss out on. And it can be really overwhelming in the beginning when someone tells you, oh, well, you need to incorporate these 5 to 8 new things in your day, or you need to dramatically change the way that you live, or so it seems like that when you're trying to incorporate new habits. But what I did, and I didn't really realize it until now, is that I was slowly incorporating these things, and eventually these things that I incorporated, which maybe be like 5 to 8 things that I incorporate in my daily practices, they became just second nature to me. So if I were to go to somebody now and they were to say, hey, like, I'm really struggling with depression or anxiety and I really want to fix it holistically, it would be, I could easily say, oh, you need to add these 8 things to your day. But in reality, like, this is a journey. Nothing in life is a quick fix. I know going to therapy or jumping on medication can seem like, oh, I'll just take this magic pill and I'll be happy. But if you've ever taken medication, you know that you have to kind of work your way onto it to see what like the right dosage is. And then if you're coming off of it, you have to like work your way off of it. So really, nothing in life is just a quick fix. So if I were to be working with somebody, or my people that come to me and say, hey, like, I really want to go down a similar route as you when it comes to mental health, the thing is that we have to understand is that it is a whole body experience, a whole body transformation. It does not have to be overwhelming. It does not have to, your entire life doesn't have to change overnight. But what we do have to realize is that we slowly progress to where we're going. And eventually, a lot of times we do have an entire life transformation. Me personally, if you were to know who I was maybe 2 years ago, like, I'm so different now. I have a completely different group of friends. My career looks so different. Um, I I'm like, the way that I spend like my free time is different. The people that I like being around is different. It's just everything is different about me. But that didn't happen overnight. And I will say that when I started on my little journey to healing, I didn't go into it thinking like, oh, I need my life to be different immediately. Or like, I really went into it thinking like, hey, I'm not happy. What I'm doing isn't working. And I just want to start incorporating these little things. And over time, I realized like, oh, journaling in the morning helps me evaluate what my mindset is, or meditation in the morning helps me really just be still and silent, and realize how many like stories, commercials I have going on in my head at all times. Like when I started to incorporate these little things, I started to realize like, oh wow, I feel better after doing this practice, or I feel better after doing this practice. And as I kind of started to like add additional practices that I had felt called to or I had heard about, eventually, as I mentioned, like I kind of just started shifting into a totally different person. And it just, I just eventually like started to realize that I'm not struggling the same way that I was before. And when I say that I struggled from probably, I mean, not probably, I can remember as early as being in first grade all the way up until age 30. I really, really struggled with depression and anxiety. Anybody that was friends with me, anybody that was close with me knew this. Like it was a very known thing. Anybody that just dealt with me on a regular basis. So I will say that as somebody who genuinely struggled for so many years and in so many different chapters of my life, I, you know, from what it seems like the last 6 months to 2 years like of my life have been like a really long time. It actually, in the grand scheme of things, was really not that long of a time for me to have like an entire 360 transition of my life. So I wanted to make this video because if you're somebody who's like looking into any type of like healing for anxiety, depression, if maybe you've been giving a diagnosis of some sort, I'm not a doctor, definitely not a doctor, but I am somebody who has tried a lot of things. Like, as I mentioned, therapy, medication, plant medicine, yoga, breath work. Like I've been on spiritual retreats. I've done sweat lodge ceremonies. Like I've literally done a lot of stuff. And I can say that things that you can do at home and that are free, literally at home and free, those are the things that helped me cure my depression and anxiety. I will say that I'm not going to get on here and say that I don't have days where I cry or that I feel like uneasy, but I have learned, and I'm going to continue to share like through my channel, about where all of that depression and anxiety stuff was coming from. Like it is not just something that like, oh, you have a chemical imbalance and like that's just your life. Like our diets, the ways that we spend like our days, like all of these things, like there's no coincidence that like so many people in our society have depression and anxiety. Like there's things that we can do that are free and that we can do at home that definitely will dramatically change your life. And it is a journey. It is a whole life transformation, but it doesn't have to be scary and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's something that can happen slowly over time, and I'm like a true testament to that. So I'm going to be posting a lot more about my holistic approach to dealing with mental health things. I know a lot of people liked my videos about plant medicine. I've done ayahuasca one time, and I've done mushroom ceremonies a couple of times. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for natural, holistic living. Have experienced so many beautiful things from just tapping into myself and tapping into the earth, and it's just my passion to share that with others. So if you guys have anything specific that you want me to talk about, I'm going to be sharing a lot more stuff about a lot more stuff. But comment below if you want anything else specific, and I'd be happy to make some content about it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.